Hey, I'm Joe with Producify, and we create DEI content and whatnot, and I'm super excited because I've got a superstar with me in Scott Ballina, who's been in the DEI space for a long time. And Scott, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi, Joe. Glad to join you. My name is Scott Ballina. As Joe said, I've been working in diversity, equity, and inclusion for more than a decade at this point, and have had the pleasure of working in organizations like Deloitte, the Gates Foundation, and most recently Citrix.
I saw some of your posts on LinkedIn where you had just an amazing series, and I was hoping that you could shed some light into what you posted.
I often experience a couple of things as it comes to DEI work. One, that leaders or organizations sometimes feel like diversity, equity, inclusion is this giant problem and so difficult that people are nervous to start and to engage. So I always take an approach, or I usually take an approach where I give people very small, discrete things that they can do that will make big impact. I wanted to kind of put some content out there that was free, that people could adopt really easily, and just kind of fill a hole that I was starting to notice in the content that's curated on LinkedIn. So that's really what inspired me to launch the series. It's gotten a pretty good reception, and it's fun to sit here and talk to you about it.
Oh, this is awesome. So the first one that you did was let's talk about trust, right? So and that's a big one, right? I mean,
yeah. So trust is really that foundational element, right? That makes a team and a person feel safe, feel comfortable, feel psychologically safe, and can actually perform. The research tells us, like, when we're building those social connections and social ties at work, that our performance improves and our team performance improves. And I'm certainly not telling you anything new, but one of the ways to do that connection is through storytelling, right? Through being vulnerable and sharing bits of ourselves with our colleagues. So it was really important for that first one, for me, to put out some content that helps people build trust. Super simple, something we can incorporate into our daily work life or even personal life. And it's one of my most favorite tools. It was a 2013 Inc.com article by Shelley Prevost, and it is called 25 Revealing Questions That Build Better Work Relationships. It is just a list of questions. Some of them are very low stakes, right? They're very sort of fluffy and nice. And some you can go sort of much, much deeper depending on how you sort of engage with the question. So, there's lots of different ways that you can use these. And I use these in my work life. I will incorporate them into a team meeting. I'll pick one question out. I will send it out to the team and say, hey, the first 10 minutes of our team meeting, we're going to answer this question, including me. We can do it in a one-on-one. If you're getting a big group together, you can break them up into smaller groups and do it as kind of an icebreaker question. So I think they're just really simple, really easy to engage with, and gets people sharing about themselves, not about what they do.
Do you give them these questions? Because we get this a lot when we're doing a video. Somebody will be like, well, I want to see the questions first. And sometimes I feel like, sometimes it works out perfect, but then sometimes it halts that creativity a little bit. But what about you? What works for you when you implement something like this?
I give them out beforehand for a couple of reasons. One, I realize, I am such a classic extrovert. I am just an external processor, but not everyone is like that, right? So one, for those that are more introverted, for our folks with neurodiversity that are not neurotypical, and especially for those that are speaking English as a second language, right? That sometimes it just people need to think about that question and how they might answer it for a bit longer than others.
You divided it up into 3 categories, like a low, a medium, and a high.
Yeah.
Can you kind of talk a little bit in depth on that? Like how do you, where do you start?
If I was sort of planning this for a networking event, you had 30 minutes, maybe I would choose 1 low question, 1 medium question, 1 high question. If I was a brand new leader on a team and I'm joining a team and there's, all of these people are familiar with each other, but they're not familiar, with me, maybe I'd start, if I'm brave or feeling courageous, I'd start somewhere in the medium range and go to high, So I think it's judging how connected this group of people already are, and choosing sort of that first one appropriately. Some are really targeted around diversity and inclusion work, right? Like one I've added into the mix is, sharing a time when you felt different, right? And I think, I'm a white cisgendered male, right? But I'm also gay, I'm a veteran. People, a lot of times I'm in sort of the majority group, right? And I think asking that question in the context of a D&I discussion really helps people kind of connect to what is it like not to belong? What does it feel like not to fit in? Where have I been in spaces where I'm not the majority group? What was that experience like for me? So that would be one that if I was doing maybe like a training with a group of people, that may be either like an opening or somewhere during the training to kind of get people reflecting back on an experience they've had in their lives that made them feel like they weren't belong or didn't fit in.
So sort of just keeping with the trust theme. You've got these questions. It's if it's done right, you're going to get that open sort of conversation and to help build trust. And I guess what's sort of the payoff?
Trust for me is just a foundational element in a team that you use trust to then build belonging, right? To then build psychological safety. And research is just telling us that diversity is not the end-all be-all, right? That if we want to take advantage of diversity in our organizations, that we must be inclusive, right? We have to create an environment or a culture where those differing points of view can come to the forefront, right? I often call it like productive disruption.
Scott, I really appreciate you kind of diving in on this topic. Really incredible.